If you are applying for the O-1 visa and are interested in finding out how the Trump administration will be affecting the process, this video is for you. Hi everyone, my name is Marcus and I'm an immigration attorney. Welcome back to my channel and happy 2025. As most of you know, Donald Trump is going to be president on January 20th, and this is not the first time that he was president. The last time we saw a lot of changes, a lot of turmoil, a lot of chaos when it came to the O-1 visa applications. So this video is about 5 ways that the Trump administration is definitely going to be impacting O-1 visa applications. So let's get to it. So the first way the Trump administration is definitely going to impact the O-1 visa has to do with processing times. So right now, processing times are already starting to get longer. It used to be 4 to 6 months. Now we're looking at something between 6 to 8 months. It's obviously seasonal. It goes up and down depending on the time of the year. But what we saw in the last administration was that there was an increase in the processing time. And this had to do with the fact that lots of people were fired, lots of new people were hired, and there was a whole retraining process. And when you get a bunch of new officers that are suddenly dumped with a whole bunch of cases, processing times definitely go up. So what does this mean? This means that if possible, you want to file your case as early as possible so that you can, avoid any kind of disruption to your life in terms of like your ability to work and things like that. The second way the Trump administration is definitely going to be impacting O-1 visas has to do with the number of requests for evidence. So for those of you that don't know, a request for evidence is a letter that immigration sends to you after you submit your application to them. And the letter says that you don't have enough documents or, stuff to show that you are truly extraordinary and they want more stuff from you. And these requests for evidence can be very, very simple. It could be like, send us your passport, or it could be super complicated where it's like, we don't believe you meet any of the criteria. Please resend everything all over again. So what we saw in the last administration was that there was definitely an increase in the number of requests for evidence, and as well as the insanity of what those requests for evidence looked like. They would push back on everything. And so I had clients, for example, who, were featured in the New York Times, and they actually came back to me and said like, wait a minute, the New York Times is not a major media, which is bizarre because actually in their template, they actually acknowledge that the New York Times is in fact major media. So we definitely are going to be seeing all kinds of really crazy requests for evidence coming around this time around. Honestly, there's really no way to prepare for it other than to put forth the best case that you can at every single juncture. Even though you put in a really, really great case, you still need to be prepared that you are going to get a request for evidence. And this has got less to do with you as an artist, as a person, and really has to do with like the internal changes that are happening within the administration. And all you can really do at this point is put in the best case you can. And if you do get a request for evidence, don't forget to consult with an immigration attorney and figure out, well, what is the best way of handling a request for evidence. Sometimes the answer is don't. Sometimes the answer is to withdraw the case. But that's something you want to really discuss with an attorney who knows what they're doing, because, usually when I look at a request for evidence, I get a sense in terms of, is this officer reasonable? Were they just hired last week? Do they know what they're talking about? Is this case worth fighting for? Or sometimes maybe the best option is to withdraw the case. Because if you try and fight it and you do get denied, one thing you want to remember is that there is a black mark that happens in your case for 7 years, meaning that if you do get denied and you want to reapply again, they will ask you in the form, have you been denied before in the last 7 years? And you're going to have to say yes. And that automatically triggers like a second round of requests for evidence. So getting it the second time around after a denial is quite complicated and quite difficult and honestly quite expensive. So something you want to think about. So like I said, the things you really can't prepare for, like, oh my God, how do I avoid a recourse for evidence? The best thing you can do is put forth the best case you can at every single juncture, and that is all you can do. All right, so the third way the Trump administration is definitely going to be impacting the O-1 visas is through extra scrutiny at the consular posts. What exactly does this mean? So normally, after you've been approved by USCIS for the O-1 visa status, you take the approval notice, and then you schedule your interview at the consular post outside of the United States so you can go for your interview and get the visa in your passport. In the past, interviews have been very straightforward, very perfunctory. They sort of ask you really basic questions, and then that's it. The last Trump administration, we saw a lot of consular officials basically saying like, okay, well, we want to re-adjudicate the case. We want to start asking you questions in terms of like, well, why are you extraordinary? We want to see all the documents all over again. So I think so my advice for dealing with that is really, the same as before, which is you need to be prepared for the interview. You need to understand what exactly went into your case. And ideally, you really should go for like a mock interview with your attorney. So for me, I usually provide like a free mock interview service for my clients because I want them to feel confident when it comes to dealing with the interviews at the Consular Posts. So usually like I'll ask them really, really difficult questions sometimes just to see how they will react. And we sort of like coach them through responses that, ideally will be able to like convince the officer that yes, they are truly extraordinary. So I would say like no matter what, even if you have been approved for your O-1 visa through USCIS, you definitely need to be more prepared this time around for the interviews at the Consular Posts. All right, so the fourth way the Trump administration is going to be affecting O-1 visas has to do with extra scrutiny at CBP. So CBP stands for Customs and Border Patrol. So these are the people that you see when you fly in, let's say to JFK. You see the immigration officers where they like look at your passport, they ask you a few questions, and then they let you in. Yeah, that's CBP. So normally in the past, those questions are really, really perfunctory. They're supposed to just look at the visa, see if you have the visa in your passport, ask you really basic questions, and then that's it. Now, we're definitely going to be seeing an increase in the scrutiny in terms of the questions. They might even be asking you, what kind of work do you? Why is it considered extraordinary? I want to be able to see your application. Definitely a trend that I've been seeing the last couple of years is that they want to see copies of the approval notice from USCIS. So I would say like going forward, definitely bring copies of your USCIS approval in addition to your passport when you're traveling so that you are able to answer those questions as well. And the fifth way, the last, or maybe, well, I wouldn't say the last. Who knows what other crazy ways the Trump administration is going to be affecting O-1 visas. But the last one for today is the increase in the amount of business audits. So this really has to do with like your contracts, your itinerary, your petitioner. We're going to definitely be seeing a lot of, either requests for evidence or even like officers calling up venues and checking your contracts just to make sure that they're legitimate. So definitely make sure that your contracts are legitimate. Make sure that you have a relationship with your petitioner. Make sure your petitioner is a real person. Make sure you actually have employment in the United States, because all of these things are going to be up for review in the next 4 years, and you definitely want to be prepared. And that was the 5 ways that the Trump administration will definitely be affecting O-1 visa processing. It's not going to be the last, and I look forward to making many, many more videos as to like how the new administration will definitely be affecting visa processing in the future. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe, so that we can continue our beautiful O-1 visa immigration journey together. Bye!